Good day, everybody. My name is mcaranza. I'm part of the IVR Contact Center organization, and together with my colleague Marco Pirrone, we have prepared this video, which is about a use case where adding artificial intelligence into an existing contact center is driving the efficiency and the productivity really very high. So what we would like to touch in this video is both the business, the use case, and the technology solution that we have delivered. So we are trying to connect the dots between the business needs of the customer, the use case, and the solution we have adopted and the rollout of that solution, driving all of you through the journey and hopefully supporting you on both sales and technical side. So we're going to talk about why artificial intelligence is so compelling these days in contact centers. And the example that we have used to drive the efficiency of the contact center higher and higher is one where artificial intelligence will be able to reduce the average agent call duration, and therefore giving back time to the agent to take more calls or to take care about difficult customers. So we will use a specific vertical example, but it's very easy to apply the same kind of architecture and solution to many others. So in our case, it's going to be a booking service, and the solution will be based on the integration of Dialogflow from Google Artificial Intelligence Services into a Cisco Contact Center Enterprise platform. We have used a package one, but any CCE solution based on a CCE software solution is fine. In this specific architecture, there are also some customizations which are delivered by partners. In this case, those has been delivered by myself and by Marco, which are about, of course, creating the bot, but also customizing both the Cisco Voice Portal and the Finesse agent framework in our case. Let's move forward. So when I had my session in Barcelona about artificial intelligence in modern contact centers, I was suggesting to have a soft approach to customers to artificial intelligence. If it's your first touch with artificial intelligence, just target a 10% optimization into your contact center. Why I'm saying that? Because 10% is already returning a huge benefit from a business point of view. So the ROI is very short, most likely within a year. There are incredible cost savings if you manage to achieve just 10% optimization of the contact center. And 10% is quite easy to achieve. So my message is, don't boil the ocean. Certainly it's possible to go higher and higher, and you may have heard about 70, 80%, these kind of percentages of incoming conversation managed by artificial intelligence. While I'm confident that's possible, I would say that as first approach, it's not needed. It's really not needed. A step-by-step solution plan to roll out artificial intelligence to a contact center is highly suggested. And the reason why I'm saying that is because 10% is already an incredible win-win-win situation. So let's make a very simple example, writing down the numbers. So 10% optimization in a contact center where the cost of the agent to the company every month is $1,000. And we know that in Western European economies, it's much more than that. So it's really a conservative approach. So if you make your math in a small, medium-sized contact center of 1,000 of agents, this is a cost savings worth $1.2 million the first year. So within the first year, certainly you pay off everything you need and much more than that to roll out this kind of solution. But the solution will keep offering cost savings and optimization along the life cycle of the contact center. And therefore, if you consider just 5 years, we are talking about $6 million. So you understand that $6 million in a 1,000 agents contact center, just because through artificial intelligence you slightly optimize the performance, is an incredible business opportunity. Not to mention if the contact center is just a little bit larger. With 3,000 agents, we are talking about $18 million. We are already double digits. And if it's a large contact center, 10,000 users, maybe it's spread in multiple branches, in multiple contact centers all around, you're talking about $60 million. So that's the reason why all the customers today of businesses of any size, any vertical, are talking about artificial intelligence. And that's one of their priorities for the contact center infrastructure and services. But what do we mean by 10%? Because that's also important. There are possible different approaches to achieve this 10% optimization. Vast majority of the people, customer partners, analysts, etc., when we talk about 10%, they mean that 90% of the calls will be still managed by people, and 10% will be entirely managed from the beginning till the end, successful end of the conversation, by a bot. While that's certainly possible, the fact that the bot is requested to successfully complete the entire conversation with the customer, which might be complex, is requesting a sophisticated bot development. The bot effort is the complexity of the dialogue, not the scalability. Once the bot is successfully managing, let me say, a bunch of incoming calls, while achieving the scalability, it's not that difficult at all. But building a bot able to manage a sophisticated conversation between human people is not that simple. Could be very complex. There is a different approach, which is the one I'm going to suggest you, and it's the following. If you pick one audio call, for example, between a client and an agent, normally in the beginning of the call, it's always a matter of collecting data. The agent will ask you, what's your name, what's your contract ID, what's your, identification details, why are you calling, what do you need, if it's a booking service, where are you flying to, when do you want to fly, all this kind of data collections stuff, which is highly repetitive, very well structured, and very easy to implement with a bot. So why engaging the agent since the beginning if the beginning of the call is always looking like the same and a bot can easily do that job? So the beginning of the call is taken by the bot. The bot is collecting all the data successfully in a good way, and once it's done, the call is escalated to the agent, who will be managing the most complex and sophisticated part of the human conversation. Of course, this makes sense only if the bot is able to transfer to the agent the data it has collected during the first part of the call, as well as the context, so the agent doesn't have to start from scratch. So fundamentally, this approach will give you exactly the same benefits, because you spare 10% of the time of the agent, which means statistically, you optimize by 10% the performance of the contact center, but the bot is much more simple to design, to roll out, and probably the success rate of the bot will be much higher. So that's a suggested approach I would like you to consider, especially if it's your first approach with artificial intelligence. Then, of course, you can have a step-by-step approach. You can always further enhance the bot, so maybe it will be able to manage simple calls from the beginning to the end, or maybe you can apply artificial intelligence also to the call between the client and the agent, because artificial intelligence can assist the agent in providing better, more accurate, and quicker answers, for example, further improving the optimization. So it's a limitless possibilities what you have with artificial intelligence integrated into contact center. Just phase it out step by step. You will have the time to learn where and how to apply this complex technology, which will provide you incredible benefits. So let's have a look at the example we've been talking about. In this example, we have created a voice bot, which is taking the first part of the call and collecting all the required data. And after that, the call is escalated to an agent, and the context and the data will be passed by the bot to the agent. So, what is needed to replicate this demonstration? You need a contact center enterprise running 12.5 software release, at least on CVP and VVB. We have used the Cisco Virtual Assistant script in mode 1, which is the one where you hand over the audio and the control of the dialogue to Dialogflow, and you don't keep it on the IVR script. I will talk about that. You need to develop a webhook on the Cisco Voice Portal, which is a custom configuration, a custom development, which is normally done by the partner. We have also developed a finesse gadget, which is the one we are using to render the context of the bot and client conversation to the agent. It's of course an example, just to show you what is feasible. It doesn't have to be necessarily the solution you roll at your customer. It depends on the needs they have. For example, they might have a different framework for the agent, but that's absolutely feasible. If you want, dCloud is offering to all the Cisco partners a fantastic ready-to-go environment to roll out this demonstration. So that's my suggestion. It's an incredible tool available to all the partners. And if you don't have an up and running lab with the right software release, etc., go with dCloud. It's going to be much easier for you. On Dialogflow side, well, for end customers, Google is suggesting the enterprise release. In reality here, the standard service is good enough, provided that you turn on billing. You will not be charged unless you don't extensively use the demo, but you need to turn on the billing, so you need a credit card to enable the APIs needed to run this demonstration. We have developed a bot and using the API 2.0 version, which is now fundamentally the one used in all Dialogflow agents / bot. The version 1 will be disabled soon. Let's have a look at the architecture and the way it works. Okay, so the incoming call, audio call from the customer into the contact center will be terminated on the voice browser as usual. And as we are using the mode 1 of the Cisco Virtual Assistant, the call will be forwarded to the Google Dialogflow. Google and the Cisco Contact Center will loop interact, so until all the intents, all the necessary parameters according to the bot configuration has been collected from the customer. So the data collection initial part of the call has been successfully completed. And at this point, the call will be escalated to an agent. Of course, on the Cisco Contact Center side, we have developed what we call here a Google API connector, which is a CVP webhook to record and store all the intents, all the parameters, all the context of the conversation which took place between the client and the bot. And that context is the one we'll be rendering on the finesse custom gadget we have created. So that's more or less the way it works. I will go deeper into the details, but these are the building blocks of the architecture. Of course, here we are using Finesse as a customer, as an agent desktop, but it could be a CRM, it could be Salesforce or whatever other CRM through a Cisco connector, for example, and you can use the context we have collected just as an input to the CRM to pre-fill customer forms or to pre-fill any application running on the CRM. So that's part of the customization that the partner may decide to deliver case by case. Here is a a better view of the bot conversation contest gadget we have created on Finesse. And as you can see, I mean, we render to the agent the exact exchange of question and answer and the dialogue between the client and the bot, as well as a summary at the end. We have even put the intent recognized by Dialogflow, which is mainly for troubleshooting purposes. In reality, I mean, in a real end user rollout, you don't need that. You may just want to put the summary at the end, which is what the agent needs to pick up from there and move forward. Perfect. Let's now move into a live demonstration of the solution, and after that I will go step by step into a description of the technical side of this solution, starting with Dialogflow and then moving to the Cisco Contact Center Enterprise. Okay, so let me move forward with the demonstration. First of all, I'm going to sign in as an agent into my Contact Center Enterprise. Here we are. My Finesse framework is popping up. Let me move to ready. And here we have the gadget we have created on Finesse, which is the bot conversation context gadget. And this is where, when the call will be escalated from the bot to the agent, we will render the context of the dialogue which took place between the client and the bot. So let me move forward and place the call into the contact center to run the demonstration.
Welcome to Flight Booking Bot. To speed up the service, I'll collect your booking requests and answer your questions before connecting to an agent. What can I do for you?
I need to fly to London from Rome.
What is the name of the person that wants to fly?
Max,
Which class should I book for you?
economy or business?
What date and time do you want to depart?
Tomorrow afternoon?
Many thanks. This is a summary of your travel request. I will book a flight for Max from Rome to London in economy and business. The requested travel date is at tomorrow afternoon. Do you need any extra reservations such as parking, car rental, taxi, hotel?
Yes, hotel.
Okay, I have added hotel to your itinerary to London. Let me now connect to an agent to complete your reservation.
And here is the incoming call. So now, as I'm an agent, I'm taking the call. So now I'm playing both the role of the client and the agent. As you can see, the call has been escalated and the context came along. So here we have on the Finesse gadget we have developed, we have the full Q&A which took place between the client and the bot. We have even put the intent that Dialogflow was matching. And then we have put the summary. Of course, this is fully customizable. We put everything just to make it clear that all the information, all the context with all the details is available. But then this is going to be part of the customization the partner will deliver to perfectly match the business needs of the specific use cases. So it could be just a summary, could be the summary plus the Q&A, or it could be just using those information as an input through one of our CRM connectors. In case the agent is not using Finesse, is using a CRM connector, just to pop up and pre-fill some customer forms, or for example the booking application form the agent is using. So this is again part of the customization, but I hope it's clear the kind of value we can deliver with a combination of the Cisco Contact Center Enterprise and Dialogflow Artificial Intelligence from Google. So this is a really limitless combo offer we have in our portfolio, and through our partners we can absolutely deliver incredible business value to our customers. So now let's move forward, and in the second part of the video we will see in details all the technical configuration, the webhooks, the customization we have made on Google and on Cisco Contact Center Enterprise side to enable this use case. Let's go ahead. Here we are. Now we are going to have a deep dive into the two sides of the use case we have demonstrated in this video. So we start with the dialog flow piece. This is my dialog flow framework. I log in and here I have all my dialog flow agents. So that's the terminology that Google is using fundamentally to mean a bot. What we call a bot is called an agent. So let me pick the one we use in the demo, which is this one, flight booking CCX. It's a simple bot. It's not that complex, but it's enough to run a successful demonstration in front of a customer during EBC, etc. So let's go through that. So we have very few intents. Some are the default intents, which are filled in by Google as soon as you create a new bot. Default fallback, default welcome. I'm not going to talk about those. Let's talk about the others. Let me start with this one, welcome CVP CVA. Now, this is a specific intent that we create simply to communicate from the Cisco Contact Center Enterprise to Google Dialogflow, which is the welcome message we would like to play to the client when the client is calling. So the way it works is the following. So I mean, there is a string. It could be any string, so we use this one. It could be any other. In the training phrase, that's the only training phrase. So we fundamentally try to force Google to match that string to trigger this intent. And the response to return to the client is the welcome message we would like really to play to the customer. So this is really the way it works. The Contact Center Enterprise is triggering this intent by sending this string to Dialogflow. How we do that? We do that with a specific Dialogflow element, which is called Dialogflow element, which has this variable initiation test, and this initiation test is exactly that string. So as we will see in the Cisco Call Studio, in this element data we have initialized this variable to that precise string, and this will fundamentally trigger that welcome message. So this is the first one we have seen. Let's move forward. We have another couple of intents which are basically the same. The idea here is to, of course, trigger a specific action. The first one is an escalation to an agent. So, and the second one is exit, when the client doesn't want to continue the call and he wants to drop the call. So escalation, here we are. So you put as many training phrases as you want. The more you put, the better it works, with some keywords, with some ways to request escalation to an agent from the customer, from the client. And very much important, here there is a parameter which is called action. You need to specify. Action is another string that Dialogflow will return to the Cisco Contact Center Enterprise to signal which action the Contact Center Enterprise has to take. So it's just a string. It could be anything. Of course, we are putting this word just as an easy reminder on the action that then we need to configure on the Call Studio on the other side. One more point, as this is an escalation, so we need to set this intent as the end of the conversation, which means that after that Google will consider the conversation closed, finish, and will hand the call control back to the Cisco Contact Center Enterprise. Same applies on exit. There is just, of course, a different action. We are going to communicate back to the Contact Center Enterprise so that we can take a different action, which will be hang up the call and not escalate to an agent. So I hope that's clear. We will return on this when we have a look at the Call Studio IVR script we use in conjunction with this Dialogflow bot. Then let's move to the, let me say, where we have automated this data collection process, which is happening in the beginning of the call when the customer is giving to the bot all the information about the flight he wants to book. So what is the departure, airport, when, his name, and a few other details. Of course, same story, you put as many training phrases as possible just to make sure that the model will work properly. And then, as you can see, you will identify certain values, certain words within those training phrases, and those values will be stored by Google into certain variables which are called entity you can define. For example, I have one defined for the origin city, one for the place where you want to fly, one for the name of the person, one for the booking class, and one for the date and time when the person wants to fly. So I have flagged all these parameters as mandatory, required, which means that Google and the Cisco Contact Center will stay in a loop, keep asking the client, the customer, to fulfill all these parameters. Until all these parameters are not filled in, you don't exit fundamentally this intent. And you can, of course, specify the question you want to ask to the client to stimulate the customer to fulfill that specific parameter here. Okay, here we have a text response, which is the one that Google is playing in case of an audio call, or chatting in case of a text bot to the client once the intent has been completed. So this is a text with some variables in there, some values, which are the values of the parameters. So, but the text is a fixed text. You can just dynamically change the value, which is the one catch and fulfilled by Dialogflow during the conversation with the customer. This is not set as an end intent, because, as you can see, at the end of the fulfillment response, we ask one more question just to explain how you can structure the conversation in Dialogflow. We can ask one more question to the customer, and the question is, do you need any extra reservations, such as an hotel or a taxi, car rental, or whatever else? So basically, after that question, we have created another few follow-up intents, which are fundamentally collecting the answer and the extra reservation details from the customer. For example, if the customer is saying yes, this intent will be matched, because you see yes in plenty of the training phrases, and we will collect one more parameter which is required as well, which is fundamentally what kind of extra reservation you need. What is the reason why you need something more? Is it for an hotel? Is it for a car rental, etc.? And again, we will provide a text response back to the Cisco Contact Center. At this time, we will set this intent as the end of the conversation, which means that, again, Dialogflow will return a conversation back to the agent. So this is fundamentally the way it works. Of course, this bot could be way more complex than that, but this one, as you can see, quite simple, is already good enough to collect a lot of the data and to spare some time to the agent in the beginning of the call, which is quite a repetitive process. So I think the message is now rather clear. Here on Dialogflow, there are a few more things you need to be aware of. You will need when you configure the other side of the coin, so the Cisco CVP, the IVR script. So you have to go into your project, which is your bot, your agent, here in the settings, and you need to take note about a couple of things. First of all, you have to take note about the project ID, which is the one you need to point at from the IVR script to engage this specific agent from the IVR script running on the Cisco Contact Center Enterprise. As well as you need to generate the key to authenticate the bot with the Contact Center Enterprise and to pass a bunch of details which are needed for the two solutions to interwork. In order to do that, you have to go here, you go under these three dots and you ask, please generate a key. And this is very much important. You have to select the JSON. So you need to download a JSON file. And this JSON file is the one that you will need when you are going to configure the Cisco Contact Center Enterprise. So say that, I think that's it. Of course, you need to have created your billing account here, and you have to turn on all the APIs that you need, but this is not the point of this video. So there is a documentation which is guiding you through this process. Now let's look at the other side, as I said, of the configuration. This is the IVR script we are using to engage that Dialogflow bot into the discussion. So as I said, it's a standard Cisco Virtual Assistant Mode 1 script with an extra webhook that we have developed. So the way it works is the following. So once the call is started, we engage here, thanks to this functional block, which is called a Dialogflow element, we engage the Google bot. And we fundamentally keep engaging this Dialogflow bot until either the escalation to an agent or the exit intent are matched. And therefore, we stay in a kind of loop here between Dialogflow and the Contact Center Enterprise, where they exchange information, they exchange data, they exchange the context of the conversation. So let me start from this checking intent, because I think so I can finish to explain the couple of points I touch in the Dialogflow explanation. So this is a decisional block, which is fundamentally checking some variables to take decision on what to do. So fundamentally here is where we are checking if the action string returned by Dialogflow is either escalate or exit. And if it is escalate, we trigger the escalation process to the agent. If it is exit, we trigger the hang up of the call. We check two more things, which is this variable fundamentally. This variable is used by Dialogflow to signal to the Cisco Contact Center Enterprise if all the mandatory parameters of a certain intent have been collected. So if the intent has been completed, okay? If you remember, we have a series of parameters, for example, here in the book flight bot, which are mandatory. So until all these parameters are collected by the bot, that flag is not set true. That flag is available here. Here we are. This is the flag in the Dialogflow element. In the element data is complete of the Dialogflow element. And on the IVR script side is something that it's available again in that variable. So you can pick from the dialog flow element and we check it. If it's complete, okay, we can exit. If it's not complete, we stay in the loop and we keep collecting all the parameters. Here in the loop, we have created a standard element with an associated JavaScript. And each time we go through the loop, this element is fundamentally building a web page, which is the one that we will render in Finesse when the call is escalated to the agent. So each time we go through this standard box, the JavaScript is going to update the web page and fundamentally storing, recording all the information and the context of the dialogue which is taking place between the client and the bot. Of course, this web page which is being created is associated to that specific call through the call ID, and therefore, there is a different web page each call we get into the system. The way we are doing that is the following. So Marco has created a piece of code which is quite simple. So fundamentally, we are going to read a few element data from the dialog flow box, which is returned by Google to the Cisco Contact Center Enterprise. Fundamentally, we are picking a couple of variables, the query text and the fulfillment text. So the query text and the fulfillment text are fundamentally described here. So the query text is the user input, so what the user told the bot, what the user asked or answered to the bot, and the fulfillment text is what the bot asked and said. So we can fundamentally, at every loop we have between the client and the bot, we can collect these two strings, these two variables, and store those in a file. And when we exit from this loop, at the end, we will pick that file and render that on a Finesse gadget. That's fundamentally the idea and the way we are doing. We are passing the context between the dialog flow conversation to the Cisco Contact Center Enterprise IVR. Okay, very good. Let's have a quick look at the Finesse gadget. So let me log on the Finesse server. Okay, here we are. So in the Finesse administration page, you have to go under the workflow. And so the workflow is fundamentally a combination of a triggering event and an action you want to take. And here we have created this combination. We call that dialog flow JSON. And in this case, the triggering event is the incoming call. So when we get the incoming call, the voice call, we fundamentally trigger that workflow. And what the workflow is doing is rendering the web page we have created to store the context of the dialogue which took place between the client and the bot. So let me show that to you. Here we are. So fundamentally, what we are going to do as an action, we are going to pop up a web page, this web page, into this gadget on the Finesse framework, and the name of the web page, which has been created by the standard box associated with the JavaScript we just showed a few seconds ago, is fundamentally based on a variable name which is the ID of the incoming call. So thanks to this trick, we always know which is the file we have to render for that specific call. So it's very simple, nothing complex, and it's the standard gadget creation and customization you have in Finesse. Okay, so let me go back. Okay, so here we are. There is one more thing I would like to show you, and it's in the dialog flow element. Remember, I told you to take note about the project ID when you were on dialog flow, because the project ID is the input of this service account ID. So here you have to put exactly the same project ID you have in your dialog flow bot in order to fundamentally link the two together. So this has to be exactly what you have here. And this is fundamentally linking that dialog flow element into this bot. It's not just that one. There are also some other steps you have to take to configure the Cisco Contact Center Enterprise to use the Google services, Dialogflow, potentially also speech to text and text to speech. And then you have to upload in the CVP the JSON file you have downloaded from Google. So there are a few steps which are well documented, but I think it's not the objective of this call to share that with you. You can go through the documentation. It's quite an easy process. I would say that's it. I think it should be rather clear now how the two pieces of the solution, the dialog flow and the script on the Cisco Voice portal, works together. And I hope it's also very much clear the limitless possibilities we have here with this combination, with this combo of dialog flow and Cisco Contact Center Enterprise. I mean, by customizing, combining together, what you can achieve is absolutely limitless. And therefore, my message, especially to the sales people, is the following: talk with your customer about the use case. Try to understand what is the kind of automation, what is the process you can automate. Don't be worried about the technology, because there are so many possibilities that for sure there is a technology solution to serve in a better way the business needs of the customers. It's important we start from the business case, and that's what we try to do with this video together with Marco. We started from a use case, from a business need, and we finish with the technical solution we have applied in order to pursue that business need. Again, it's an unbelievable opportunity we have ahead of us, limitless opportunities to improve the business of our customers. So don't be shy, talk to your customers, and then engage the right partners with the right set of skills. Feel free to reach out. Myself and Marco will be very glad to support you, to share also this bot, or share also the content and everything we have done. It will be a pleasure, and also to support you for the early projects. But again, don't be shy. Go ahead, reach your customers. Stay tuned. New video is coming soon, and I wish you a great day. Bye.